Let's dive into the discussions shaping the nation.
Well, Ministers, you're about 12 days too late. Statements on the government response to a storm that happened 12 days ago, and you return here as the vast majority of homes are reconnected and for many the outages are over. And I want to begin by saying shame on this government for ignoring the call I made 2 days after the storm that the government should have came and sat here to answer the questions and to put the supports in place much quicker than they were put in place. And I heard very much the Taoiseach's response. It was to come down to County Roscommon to get his photograph taken and then to tell us on this side of the House that we were playing politics. Now, I'm in this House since 2020 and I have never played politics on any issue, ever. I called the Dáil to be returned because it was the right thing to do. And it was on the back of the anger, the anguish and the pain that was felt by the people of Roscommon and Galway, who I am here to represent. And you and this government have let those people down. It took 8 days for your government to announce that costs for accommodation will be covered. And even though it took 8 days, you still managed to get it wrong. Because one of the first questions I was asked was, I have no money to pay up front for 3-4 nights in accommodation. What am I supposed to do? Well, I'll email the Minister and sure, I might get a reply tomorrow or I might get a reply next week and I'll let you know. And you just wait. Not good enough and not acceptable. There are 2 existing humanitarian assistance scheme forms. This scheme has been in place for quite some time. It's not something that the government put together in a hurry, and it wouldn't want to be, given the time it's taken to get us to this point. And there has been mixed messages repeatedly in terms of these support payments and what they are actually for. I have constituents who filled in the form. One handed it into a social welfare office on behalf of her elderly parents. She was told her elderly parents needed to come in and present themselves. Another rang the department phone line over the weekend and was told the HAS1 form was means tested, even though it isn't. The means tested has been suspended. And another was told she couldn't apply because her power was back. Again, not correct. And that's before we get to the forms at all in the first place. And I welcome clarification and confirmation from Minister Darragh Cleary today in terms of those people that got cheques by post for €150 have panicked because that doesn't even come close to covering their costs. It is so important that we communicate to people that they get a letter to explain to them this is for your immediate need, food, etc. More will follow where you have more costs, and it is so important that we communicate that because there has been an awful lot of confusion. I have people who have spent so much money over the last 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days. They're actually worried about how they're going to afford to pay their mortgage this month. That is the level of cost that this has had on so many households. There has also been confusion in terms of farmers and the HAS2 form and what's covered under that. I rang the department phone line on Sunday for somebody. I was told sheds, turf sheds, etc. are covered, but then anything agricultural use isn't. So we need clarification and farmers need clarification on that. In terms of the ESB, I do want to commend the ESB staff on the ground, Éowyn staff on the ground and our councils. I thank each and every one of them for the work they continue to do, and sometimes in very, very difficult conditions. I also want to commend all of the communities who stepped up, who set up the hubs and who have done so much in recent days, especially those across Roscommon and Galway. I have never been prouder to represent them here in this House. And yesterday I listened to the CEO of ESB on radio, and he was asked about compensation and he was asked about supports for his customers, and it was no, no, no. And it was as if he almost felt he'd give them enough by restoring the power for them and that would be good enough, almost like as if it was a favour, a service customers are paying for, and they'll pay for it whether they have the service or they haven't the service. And that was the response. Again, the government need to be pushing hard on the ESB in terms of the PSO levy and the standing charges, and they should be suspended for any customer that was without power for whatever length of period that was. And customers again should receive a goodwill payment from the ESB. They are in record profit. Their last full year of profit 2023 was €868 million. About time now they put their hands in their pockets for the people that have been left without electricity for all of this time. And I would say especially those that have been and remain without power today. There are so many more issues to raise. Homes without chimneys have been put in a particularly vulnerable situation, not only without electricity, but actually being cold in their homes. We've learned that the vulnerable customers register, that list of about 97,000 people roughly, is meaningless when it comes to a storm. People that are reliant on medical devices to live and devices to move, people in wheelchairs, people with electric beds, they were left at sea during this storm. They're registered as vulnerable, but it means nothing. And I would ask the ESB look at providing generators to all of those on their vulnerable customers list, and that they would do that ahead of any future storm, because those vulnerable customers need to be protected. And I would ask also that insurance companies give a guarantee that they will not raise premiums on the back of claims made at the end of all of this. Forestry is a major issue across Roscommon, Leitrim, other parts of the west of Ireland. It is an unavoidable mess. The ESB need an urgent action plan in terms of protecting their power lines, which the way leaves are in place in the vast majority of cases for them to do, and they haven't done. And I will finish with this. The worst part of the Dáil not being recalled last week, and let's face it, we've had 13 weeks of no Dáil business at all, was the position we were put in, where you had to go back to people with genuine questions, concerns and queries about supports and say to them, I'll contact the Minister or I'll contact the department and I'll come back to you when I get a reply. And you just leave those people there. It has been so unacceptable. And I would not imagine a single emergency in this state that would impact so many people where the Dáil here would not sit. It has been totally unacceptable. And you know, most of the time the people in the west and northwest, they feel forgotten about and they feel left behind. And that's exactly what this government did to them last week. And I would say that is the message from the people in Roscommon, Galway, and the people that I represent.
Like, share, and subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.